Welcome everyone to this public meeting of the Peel District School Board. As you are able, please stand with us for the land acknowledgement and our national anthem.
We would like to acknowledge
that we are here today
on the traditional territory
of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation.
Nous tenons à reconnaître que
nous sommes sur le territoire traditionnel
des Mississaugas de la Première Nation de Credit.
Thank you. So we'll start with the approval of the agenda. We have some amendments to our agenda. Trustees would have the blue sheet at their desk with 3 items on it. 6.1A is a retirements addendum. 12.2 is the OPSPA Connects report from May the 13th. 13.3 is a copy of the follow-up letter to the Minister of Education from the Chair of the Peel District School Board regarding recent announcements of changes to ministry funding. Trustee Sohi, will you move the agenda as amended? Thank you. Trustee Crocker, will you second this, please? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from trustees? Seeing none, all in favor of the amended agenda? Thank you. Carried. Item 2 is declaration of conflict of interest. Are there any? Seeing none. Item 3, moving to section 3, which is the minutes. Section 3.2 is the minutes of the regular meeting of the board on April 23rd. Trustee Davis, will you put them on the floor? Thank you. Trustee Benjamin, will you second them? Thank you. And they are here for our approval. Are there any questions or comments regarding these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Item 4, are there any written questions from trustees? Trustee Crocker.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a written question, and I have provided this in advance to Superintendent Adrian Graham. May I read it?
Yes, please.
In view of a disturbing report appearing in the Globe and Mail on May the 1st, this was titled Hate Crimes in Canada Surge with Most Not Solved. And on the same day on the op-ed page, an item, Fighting Organized Hate Requires New Tactics for a New Era. And in view as well of a folio piece in the previous Saturday's Globe, and for those of us who, I'm a retired person, so I can read the Globe and Mail in the morning. It's very nice. The weekend Globe has a double-page folio, which was Canada's new far right, a trove of private chat room messages, and reveals. And I'm going to interject in view of some local news in the last 24 hours, and reflecting that the perpetrators of hate crimes and their victims all start out in life as students somewhere. So I ask the following questions. What happens in our classrooms in Peel and more widely in our schools to educate students about hate crimes and how we can counter them? And secondly, where is learning about hate crimes reflected in our curriculum, and what resources are in place to support this curriculum? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And will you leave the copy with Executive Assistant Bapti, please? Thank you. Trustee Kay McDonald?
Thank you. Through your chair, I have two questions. Is it possible to have IPRCs held in the evening if requested, so parents that work during the traditional school hours can attend if they wish?
So is that a written question you want to submit for answer? Okay, that's
And
one.
The second one is, what is the policy, or is there a policy, protocol in place for handling grieving schools?
I see. Okay. So that should be those two questions should be something we could get answers for in 2 weeks' time. If you would leave copy before we leave tonight with the Executive Assistant Bapti, please.
Okay, and if I could amend the question slightly, because I think what the question they want to know is how in the death of a staff member, how do handle it, and what say does the school community have?
Okay, you can write that as you just said it, and that would be helpful for administration to then come back with an answer for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other written questions from trustees? Seeing none, thank you. We'll move to item 5. Are there any notices of motion or petitions from trustees? Trustee McDonald?
Thank you. So I have two. The first one is on behalf of the student trustees, and I'm really impressed of all the work that they have put into this, Trustee Shankran and Trustee Oris Nedanova. So, whereas the Peel District School Board has 35 secondary schools in Peel North and South combined, whereas the Peel Students President's Council, PSPC, has more leadership-based initiatives than advocacy-based initiatives, and seek to broaden student representation across Peel, whereas the board seeks student voice from student trustees when making decisions that will affect their education, let it be resolved that the board shall establish a committee called the Student Senate in conjunction with the Peel Students President's Council's clause, with a mandate to A, have 2 student representatives chosen from every school in each region. B, meet and consult with the student trustee from their region and other senators in matters regarding student voice and affairs in the Peel District School Board in regional meetings. C, promote student voice, transparency, and communication. And D, encourage students to engage in leadership opportunities such as the Peel Students President's Council. So that's the first one. And the second one is, be it resolved that the Peel District School Board develop and implement an anti-racism policy. Thank you.
Okay, if you submit those two for administration to make sure they're included in our May 28th agenda, they will both be for debate at that time. Are there any other notices of motions or petitions? Okay, item 6 is a special section for receipts. 6.1 is a list of retirements. 6.1A is the retirements addendum. 6.2 is notification that our regular and modified school year calendars have now been approved by the ministry. Trustee Sohi, will you move this? Thank you. And Trustee DeCruz, will you second this? Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? All in favor? Oops, I'm sorry. Before we vote, I'm sorry, apologize.
Yes,
Trustee Green.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. As you look in the retirement package this afternoon, there is 2 principles that I would really like to echo and speak about, who has made tremendously difference within the life of students within the school. And my principal at Springbrook, Margaret Alley, a great champion for education, one of the most diverse staff that meets the need of the student within her school, has been a champion for many, many years in this board. I've worked with her when she was at Balmoral. Now I work with her at Springbrook, and she has set a standard for other principal that can model and look and take forward in terms of how they staff their school and the type of program that their school. So she will be greatly missed. And then a principal that I have worked with when she was at Fletcher's, Mary Nadavati. She's now down in the South, and I noticed she is putting her retirement. She's another great champion for education, and these are two people that I personally work with closely, and they will be truly missed. But I want to take the time to wish them all the best and wish them well in their retirement and whatever journey that they venture off on, that they will have success. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Whose is this? It's activated as seat number 27. Is that? Trustee K. McDonald.
Thank you. So I'd like to mention the fact that Kathy Standring from Ray Lawson Public School is retiring. And I think that we're going to see a great, great champion for education leave our board. I've often asked her, I always say, Kathy, why don't you be go and interview for an SO? And she has her SO papers, but she always said her heart was with the students. And each and every day when you go into that school, it is evident just how much her heart is really into that school. So Ray Lawson is going to be in for a big, big loss in seeing her leave. Also, I've had the pleasure of, while she's not directly in charge of one of my schools, Principal Kathy Unelli, I've been on several committees with her, and not only is she a wealth of knowledge, but she is a very funny, practical, caring, kind individual. And we have had, and I see Trustee Lawton shaking her head, we have had quite a wonderful time working with her, and she'd also be missed. I don't know what's happening, why all these wonderful people are leaving all at the same time. And Principal David Abella, who I've just recently gotten to know, I don't know as well, but he has been at Parkway, and I wish him the best in his retirement.
Excellent, thank you. So are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, this has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. Moving to item 9, which is new business. We take these items individually. 9.2 are the recommendations of the Physical Planning and Building Committee meeting on May the 7th. There are no recommendations for the board. They are information items here for receipt. Trustee Green, will you move these? And Trustee Andrews, will you second them? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from trustees on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. 9.3 is the revised code of conduct for members of the Peel District School Board. Trustee B. McDonald, will you move this to the floor? Thank you. Trustee Green, will you second this? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from trustees? Trustee Dekrub.
Thank you, Chair Cameron. First of all, I'd like to begin by saying I'm highly supportive of this board having a code of conduct. I think it's very important that we have one, and my understanding is, as per the provincial government and the ministry, we are required to have one by tomorrow. That's correct, right?
Correct.
So we need to do something, and we need to do it today. However, I have read the code of conduct, and I have one major concern. And I've asked questions about this, and my questions have not been answered. I've asked questions multiple times, probably over the past week, and those questions have still not been answered. I think I've asked questions up until 5 minutes ago, and there's no answers of that. So I'm gonna go talk a little bit about what my concern actually is. On page 34 at the top, 5 at the bottom, section 6.28. I would appreciate it if all trustees followed along. I'm going to read it now. The chair of the board is the spokesperson to the public on behalf of the board, unless otherwise determined by the board. No problems. No other trustee shall speak on behalf of the board unless expressly authorized by the chair of the board or the whole board to do so. I have a question about that, but that's not my biggest concern. But I do have a question about that. Does that mean at graduations, I can't tell students that I'm here to congratulate them on behalf of the board? Or do I need written permission to do that? That's a question. We can park it, but that's a question. When individual trustees express their opinions in public, they must make it clear that they are not speaking on behalf of the board, nor as a trustee, but only as an individual on a matter that is being debated by the board and not on a resolution already passed. So the reason I've been asking questions is because I don't know what that actually means, and I'm still asking them. So I actually made a little diagram for myself, which I'll walk you through and ask those questions. But I feel that I don't know what I'm being asked to vote on. And I know that we have to vote on this today, and we don't really have much of a choice. So the way this reads to me, I feel that I'm being asked to vote away my freedom of speech and my ability to appropriately represent the community that had elected me. So I'm going to, and according to the Constitution, even if I wanted to vote away my freedom of speech, I don't think I would be even able to do that. So I'm going to read a part of the Constitution, and I want to make it very clear, I'm not a lawyer, but I did pay attention, obviously, during grade 10 civics. Was my favorite class. So everyone, according to the Constitution Act of 1982, under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, everyone has the following fundamental freedoms: freedom of conscience and religion, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication, freedom of peaceful assembly, and freedom of association. So I'm wondering what this means. So I'm gonna walk you through my little diagram that I'm trying to understand. Does this mean, as an individual, I can speak on matters that are before the board, but I can't speak on a resolution after it's already passed in public? Because according to what I just read in the Constitution, as an individual, I don't think you can tell me what to do, right? And then the other part of it is, as a trustee, can I speak on matters that are before the board? That's not really clear. I don't even know if that's a yes or no to that. And as a trustee, I can't speak on resolutions that are already passed. So it's all very confusing. So I would like some answers before we vote on this, because I believe that our job includes making sure that no policies or bylaws that we put forward or we pass would violate the Constitution. And we really need to make sure, we do have a responsibility as a board of trustees to ensure that, that our board is protected from unnecessary legal battles over wording that really is just hard to understand. And then my biggest pet peeve about this entire thing is the grammar. This sentence is 4 lines long, and to be quite honest, it makes no sense. If you're going to put together a code of conduct, you have to be very clear. You have to be very specific. People have to understand what they can and cannot do. It can't be all muddled and not make any sense, and you need a diagram to understand it. So if we, and I've asked the questions that I had, and I actually also asked if I could get some perspective from someone who is a constitutional lawyer, and I'm not getting these answers back. So if we don't want to talk to a constitutional lawyer, can we at least call an English teacher? This is a school board. We should use good grammar. So if the director who submitted this, because I see his name is on here, submitted by Peter Joshua, Director of Education, could help me understand what this means, I would really appreciate it. I don't have a problem supporting the code of conduct. I do have a problem voting on something I don't understand.
Okay, let's try to get some answers then, all right?
Right.
And if you intend to present
I have
an
an
amendment,
amendment, sure.
we need to get to it shortly after you get your answers.
Absolutely.
Let's, would call on Mr. Director Joshua.
But can I just review the chart?
Let's try to get you some answers first. Okay?
Yeah,
Just-
those are my questions.
Yeah.
Through you, through the chair, I just want to make it clear that 6.28 is in reference to upholding decisions. So when a board passes a resolution, the statements that are made in 6.28 are in reference to a past resolution. It does not cover when you are speaking as a trustee at a commencement or a graduation. You are speaking freely. This is specifically with reference to a past resolution.
So can I speak as an individual on a matter that's before the board?
If you are speaking as an individual,
Yes.
it's very clear that you may, but when a motion is passed, you must make it clear that you are not, if you are expressing an opinion, you're not expressing it on behalf of the board.
But that's not what this says. I don't have a problem with saying, I don't have a problem, I don't want to speak on behalf of the board. That's not my job. That's not what, so, as a trustee on a matter before the board, can I speak yes or no?
Yes.
As a trustee on a resolution already passed, can I speak yes or no?
According to this statement, on a matter that's been resolved, it is the chair of the board who will speak, be the spokesperson to the public. Otherwise, it may be an individual trustee when determined by the board to have that person speak.
So, if a matter is before the board, I can go and speak to anybody in any case about that as a school board trustee.
When the matter is before the board and it has not yet been resolved, yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Wouldn't it
hear.
be
We have a
easy-
couple of other people who want to speak, so
Yeah.
we're going to call on Trustee Chankrian.
This was like before this passing.
I can't hear you. Did you activate your button? Okay, thank you. Very good. Trustee K. McDonald.
Thank you. I have a question. I'll give an example. When we passed, for example, the resolution to increase the busing distance for French immersion students in Caledon, based on the fact that there was no public transit, right? So my constituents come to me and they're asking me questions. So I have to, can I answer them? That was a resolution that we passed. The motion was passed. So I have to say them, you have to speak to the chair of the board? Mm-hmm. Or how do I explain, or they want busing? I was explaining the rationale that your students are getting busing because there was no public transit. So then I have to direct that question to you as a chair?
Trustee, Director Joshua.
So through the chair, in those circumstances, when a motion has been passed and a resolution is in place, you are a trustee for your constituency, and you can speak on behalf of the board to your constituents about that motion, as long as you're referring to that as the board decision.
Okay, because based on how it's written here, it says not on a resolution already passed. So I'm just wondering, we're explaining things to our constituents all the time, but we base it on policies and things that we pass.
So through the chair, it would, the expectation and the intent behind this is to have one individual, the chair of the board, who you have elected, to be your main spokesperson when there is a request from the general public to have a board voice, and it's the chair who speaks on behalf of the board. But outside of that, when you are relaying information on a board motion as a trustee with your own constituents, I would suggest that as a board, you would all agree that that is a responsibility you have as a trustee to share the decision of the board with your own communities.
But could I,
So
please?
we have another speaker. Trustee Green, please.
If I may help a little bit, okay, bring a little clarity and a little wisdom here. Okay, so here's what happened. When there's a motion in front of the board, and I don't agree with the motion, and I did not support the motion. However, the motion is now passed by the rest of my colleague. Then what happened is that you go in the public, and when you're in the public, you can say, I did not support it, but now it's a board motion, it's a board decision, so we honed it. So basically what we cannot talk negative and how we feel, even though we expressed how we feel at the board table about that motion, after the motion is passed, we cannot go in the public and express our negative feelings about it because it's now honed by the board. And because every trustee makes up the board, we cannot speak negatively about it. That's the whole intent. That's what's happening when you're talking about you can speak. But as an individual trustee, when something are happening within your community that affects your community, you have a right to speak because that's your community. The chair has no right to speak for you in your community because the chair does not know your community. You know your community. So you speak as an individual trustee representing your community. That's what it's all about. And that's how the procedure is, and that's how the code of conduct supposed to be worked. And if anybody want to call you on that, you can call them on it, and you can look at the various different rules, but that's how it's supposed to work.
Okay, so Trustee DeCroop, thank you, Trustee Green. Trustee DeCroop, what you
So-
created is some debate before we even have an amendment. An amendment would then lead to the debate, so I'm going to ask you to present us with an amendment, should that be your wish.
I wish to present an amendment.
Can you share that with us, please?
I would like to just add a period after the word board and get rid of nor as a trustee, but only as an individual on a matter that is still being debated by the board and not on a resolution already passed, to make this very clear, very specific, not open to interpretation by this board or any board that may come in the future. And to be quite honest, that's enough. You don't speak on behalf of the board.
Okay, so let's make sure all of the trustees understand what the amendment request is. So the amendment would be to put a period after the word board and before the word nor, wiping out the rest of that sentence from nor on and ending the point after the word board, which is on the third line up at 6.28. Are there any questions as to what the amendment is? So we can make sure we're clear before we have some debate.
Remove the whole sentence after the word on?
Half the sentence, or unless somebody wants to rewrite this to make it better and make more sense.
So maybe what we could do is ask Trustee DeCroop to read your 6.28 as it would be amended.
The chair of the board is the spokesperson to the public on behalf of the board, unless otherwise determined by the board. No other trustee shall speak on behalf of the board unless expressly authorized by the chair of the board or the whole board to do so. When individual trustees express their opinions in public, they must make it clear that they are not speaking on behalf of the board. Done. Period.
Period, after the word board. Going to open up, would you, have you finished your argument?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to have 2 minutes? No. Oh, seconder. You need a seconder, thank you. Seconder? So it'd be Trustee K. McDonald will second. Thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Fernandez. So we'll open this up on the floor for comment. and debate if you would like to have a say on the amendment. Trustee B. McDonald.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Chair. As Trustee Green said, the intent of this motion is to talk specifically on motions before they happen and after it happen, and how, as trustees, we can communicate with that. And so removing, as the amendment does, nor as trustee, but only as an individual on a matter that is being debated at the board. So that tells you that we can debate on the subject before the motion's passed, but then says not on a motion already passed. And I think that's integral to this paragraph of what we're trying, the intent is. Whatever the motion is, passed or at the board table, we can say we like it, we dislike it, and that's great. We can talk to our public about it and what have you. But then when it passes, we say, if the radio calls and says, you know, you voted against it, talk to the chair. You know, the TV calls and says, hey, you know, I support the motion because the board passed it, talk to the chair. I think that's the intent of the motion. It's only a motion concepts. That's why the resolution idea is in there in that last bit of the sentence, so that it's not limiting conversations about our community or whatever it may be, the graduation speeches which you had. It's really just to talk around this motion, what we do before and what we do after. And I like the motion because I think it makes it integral to us. Every year we appoint a chair. They are our spokesmen. So they are the ones that we are supporting to go in front of the public, the radio and social media and what have you, to echo that conversation for us, which I'm happy with because I get tongue-tied and probably say something wrong. So that's great, Stan. Thanks for jumping in for me. Anyway, so I won't be supporting the amendment and will be some more supporting the motion as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Other speakers to the amendment? Trustee K. McDonald.
Thank you, through your chair. I agree with the amendment because of two things. I think that we cannot rely on just the intention, because you have the sentence, the part of the sentence says, and not on a resolution already passed. That's vague, because if you based on this, it is, the wording is suggesting that I'm not able to talk on a matter that was already passed, even though it says under the title upholding decisions. So that makes a little window for someone, especially if somebody wants to target you or harass you, that they could go and say, well, you spoke about a resolution already passed. So I'm glad that it would not be there. Also, even before the period when it says nor as a trustee, I give an example, like you have a doctor in the family. They are a doctor, so you might ask them advice about a pain or whatever. They are a doctor. They may not be your doctor. They're not giving you, they're not going to say that, listen, you have to follow my advice, because they suggest to you go and speak to your doctor. But if I'm out speaking, I'm elected as a trustee. So, I mean, from now on, I'll always just say, I'm not speaking as a trustee before I speak, to make sure I protect myself then from any of my colleagues that say they get ticked off and they want to say, oh, you spoke on behalf of the board. Because people in your community, and not even the constituents that in my ward that vote for me, because let's say you're out at events like a Black History Month celebration, everybody attending that event is not necessarily from wards 3 and 4, and I don't check with each person and say, are you from wards 3 and 4? They might come up to me, I'm from the community, oh, you're a trustee, XYZ, how does busing work? I live 1.1 kilometer, why can't I get, I'm only 0.1, but I'm explaining to a community member. And I just think that it is vague. It is saying not on a resolution already passed. So I would support the fact that you put the period after the board.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Trustee Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say this is our code of conduct. It's the board choice, and the board has a right to make any change or any amendment that at the end of the day that this board can live with. And because whatever we pass tonight, we have to uphold that decision. So we cannot be afraid if there's something that is a concern to be addressed and not do that. Because at the end of the day, we are the one that's gonna have to uphold this for the next 4 years. So it's our code of conduct, so you have a right, and please, I'm just saying, take the time and think about what we do, because we're gonna have to live with it for the next 4 years. So if it's wordsmithing and it needs to be changed and needs to be read more clearly, then I think it's important that we do so.
Thank you.
What you're saying, not.
Are there any other speakers to the amendment?
If you're individual, you cannot speak to the resolution.
Seeing none, Trustee DeCroop, would you like to close debate?
Working.
There you
Hi.
go. You good?
Thank you, Chair Cameron. I want to thank my colleagues for indulging my concerns and for listening. I believe that we are all very bright, intelligent individuals, and we all have the best interest of the board, and that we would not vote on things that aren't clear. We do not do that at this board. We ask questions, we raise concerns, we dig into things, we wordsmith, we talk things over and over again until we're ready to make a decision, to make a commitment, because we take everything we do very seriously. And that's why I really believe in this board and in my colleagues. So I'm not really going to talk more about this. I think I made my point very clear. And I know that the board will vote, will make good decisions.
Thank you. Okay, I'm about to call the vote. All those in favor of the amendment as it has been presented, raise your hand. It's the only one who's presented an amendment. Yes. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? All those abstain? The amendment is defeated. Now moving back to 9.3, which is the revised Code of Conduct for members of our board. It has been moved to the floor and seconded, and we went through some questions and comments. This is here for our approval now. All in favor? Opposed? Carries. Yes. 9.4, everyone, is the appointment of 2 trustees and 2 alternates to the UPSPA Board of Directors from June 2019 to June 2020. Vice Chair Lawton, will you move this? Trustee DeCroop, will you second this, please? Thank you. I'll now open the floor just for nominations, in this case, for the 2 Board of Director appointments first. Trustees can nominate now. Please activate your button if you'd like to nominate someone. Trustee DeCroop.
I would like to nominate Trustee Kathy McDonald.
Okay. This is for the Board of Director appointments. Trustee Benjamin.
I would like to nominate Trustee Carrie Andrews.
Thank you. Trustee Sohi.
I would like to nominate Trustee David Green.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Trustee McDonald?
I'd like to nominate Trustee Balbir Sohi. For the alternates, no?
This is for the actual.
Oh, just for,
It's for the actual 2 directors. Is that, you're withdrawing that nomination? board director? Okay, so let's confirm then, at this point, trustee Kay McDonald, trustee Carrie Andrews, trustee David Green, the three of you would like to stand for this position? That's right. Okay. So you would have received an email late last night where I said I'm going to give each candidate 3 minutes, each nominee 3 minutes to share their wishes, skill sets, interests with us. And we'll do it in the order that the nominations came in. Trustee Kay McDonald, will you activate your button, please? And your 3 minutes.
Thank you. The Ontario Public School Board Association provides an essential service and valuable opportunity for trustees. When trustees attend Board of Directors meetings, it's not only a great opportunity to learn, build capacity, and connect with other trustees across the province, it is an opportunity to bring forward the concerns, successes, and realities of our board. It's also an opportunity to report back to our board of all the amazing events that are occurring across the province. I think the representatives of the Ontario Public School Board Association Board of Directors should be an active participant and should not sit silently at the table. I'll be a strong advocate for this board. I currently do this at the regional level and would like the opportunity to do so as a member of the Board of Directors. As one of the current alternates, I've had the opportunity to represent the board and share the many exciting initiatives that our board embarks on, as well as bringing forward concerns and challenges that we face, as well as to garner support for issues we face, many of which are unique to Peel. I think I can eloquently and convincingly represent our board at the Board of Directors table. I currently chair IPC, the Discipline Committee, and sit on several other committees. I have the availability to attend the required meetings. I relish the opportunity to collaborate with other trustees. For example, after the targeting hiring motion was passed, trustees from across the boards reached out to congratulate me, but they had a keen interest in the motion and how to pass it at their boards, and it was a pleasure to go through the process of how I introduced it to our board. I look forward to representing the board in this capacity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next candidate was trustee Andrews.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. As an active and participating member of the OPSPA board for the past 4 years, I would like to continue in the role so that I can bring the continuity of the work of OPSPA to this board. OPSPA serves a vital role in public education. This role is even more critical now as the current government are bringing changes to the funding of public education that has a profound impact to the well-being of education systems across Ontario. Being part of an association that represents approximately 1.3 million public elementary and secondary students, 4,461 schools, and over 223,000 staff, I take the role very seriously. With the large turnover of trustees province-wide, I feel there needs to be some stability. My 4 years of knowledge and experience will bring stability in leadership, guidance, and mentorship to newly appointed directors of OPSPA across the province. I have been through the negotiations process before and know what is required from OPSPA and the Board of Directors, the reviews, consultations, last-minute meetings, etc. I also work in the mental health sector and have a good understanding of the restructuring of the healthcare system from a regional and provincial perspective. With mental health such a priority, this will bring value to OPSPA as well as the board. Personally, I like the provincial perspective of what the 39 other member boards are doing, learning, and sharing together. We all have the same common goal, to provide accessible education opportunities for all students, regardless of their ethnic, racial, or cultural background, social or economic status, individual exceptionality, or religious preference. I have good relationships with the president of OPSPA, the first and second presidents, as well as the other 45 trustees across the province who are part of OPSPA. As a strong advocate and active lobbyist for school boards across the province, it is important that the OPSPA Board of Directors consists of trustees that are active and informed, trustees that bring the voices of their respective boards to the OPSPA table. I have fulfilled that role for Peel over the last 4 years and would greatly appreciate your support to continue this very important work as a Peel Director on the OPSPA board. Thank you.
Thank you. Our third nominee was Trustee Green. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, as a senior trustee in this board, I have represented this board at the OPSPA board table for the last 10 years. I have served as vice chair for the region for 3 years. I've served in the policy development committee. That's where the impact in decision in serving our youths are made. I've also served on the education development committee for 5 years. Over the last 2 years, I represent this board and sit at the executive level as the VP of enrollment for this board, who brings the board issue to the table and meets with the various stakeholders at the government and provincial and federal level. Over the last 2 years that I sit in the executive, I have learned and grow in this role and being an advocate for this board at that table, because that's where the impact is made, is at the table where you sit as the executive. Now, as a trustee, I am the only trustee that's as the 6th module that OPSPA have developed and put out, such as good governance, bargaining, negotiation, and the role of trustee. With my experience serving this board, I have always come back and report to this board. I have represented this board very well. And when I am at that table, it's not about David Green. It's about the student of Peel. My colleagues, tonight I'm asking you, with the change in government, the time that we're in a time where this government is making decisions that we don't know next what they will do next. We need experience. We need a trustee at that board table who understand the various different policies, the various different structures of the Ontario School Board Association, understand bargaining. And just to say a few, I'm asking you to allow me to continue be your voice at that table, because you know, you have seen my passion, and you know I'm a strong advocate for this board at that table. So I thank you, and I look forward for your support tonight.
Thank you. So we've had our 3 nominees speak. It's now time to vote. Trustees, you have in your, underneath your desk, a pad that looks like this. It says standard ballot. There are 4 lines on it. We only need 2. We're going to write 2 names on this. And our scrutineers are our secretary of the board, Mr. Joshua, and also his executive assistant, Mrs. Baptiste. And they will come and get our ballots once we have completed them, and they will go away and count them for us. How far are they going? Yeah. Probably 2. Thanks. Point of help, Mrs. Fernandez, can we move to another item? Not the next item, because it's possible one of the 3 nominees, one of them is not going to be moving forward, but they may want the alternate position. So can I move to item 12 and continue on? Excellent, thank you. So we will do that. Thank you, everybody. Actually, let me move to 9.5. Because this is the board meeting schedule for the 2019-2020 school year. Trustee Crocker, will you move this schedule for us, please? Thank you. And Trustee Benjamin, will you second it? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from trustees regarding this meeting schedule for next year? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. It was here for our approval. 9.6 is a notice of changes to, this is a notice, everyone, to the Peel District School Board bylaws. It's a notice regarding a slight change to Bylaw J, duties of the Vice Chair. We will hear this recommendation at our next regular meeting of the Board on Tuesday, May 28th. As this is an item required by our bylaws, it must be moved and seconded. Trustee Sohi, will you move this, please? Trustee Davies, will you second it? Thank you, sorry. So, and all in favor of hearing this 2 weeks from today? That carries, thank you. Moving to item 12. Item 12 on the agenda, which is reports from Ontario Public School Boards Association. 12.1 is the OSPA Connects report from April 29th. 12.2 is the OSPA Connects report from May the 13th. Trustee Andrews, will you move these? Trustee K. McDonald, will you second them? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding those? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Item 13 is communications for action or receipt. We can take all of these together. These communications are all here for us to receive at this time. 13.1 is a copy of the letter to the Minister of Education from the Chair of the Simcoe County District School Board regarding recently announced proposed changes to class sizes. 13.2 is a copy of the letter to the Minister of Education from the Chair of the York Region District School Board regarding proposals announced on March 15th, 2019. And 13.3 is a copy of our board's follow-up letter to the Minister of Education from the Chair regarding recent announcements of changes to ministry funding. Trustee B. McDonald, will you move receipt of these communications? Thank you. Vice Chair Lawton, will you second these? Thank you. And are there any questions or comments from trustees regarding those letters? Yes, sir. Trustee Crocker.
Thank you, Chair. My question has to do with the communication of our letter. I see it's got a broad distribution list. What I don't see there is it going specifically to parents. And in speaking to parents after the last letter, I'm aware that there were parents who saw it. I was bragging about the letter to my daughter. I just got it in the Courier Friday morning, and she says, "Dad, I already know about this. It was emailed to me twice," she said. She got it once as a school council member and once as a parent. In speaking to parents at other schools, they hadn't seen it. So I don't know what the differential is there. But what I'd like to be sure is that we are making sure, I think best by directing principals to make sure that they email it to their parents so that it's broadly distributed and not in an effort to propagandize the parents, but to inform them. So may I have that assurance?
Yeah, thank you. So I raised that question this morning as we were talking about the letter, and I was looking for some assurances of consistency around distribution. And Director Joshua, would you like to speak to how we're going to be able to ensure that?
Yeah, through the chair, we will certainly be very explicit about expectations around our messages. We'll send out with the letter messages and direction to principals and follow up through our superintendents.
Thank you, Director Joshua. Thank you, Chair.
So we'll go back. So we just, I don't think we actually voted on that, right? I asked if there were any questions or comments from trustees on the letters. Did I ask if we were in favor? No, let's do this. All in favor of those 3 letters being received? Thank you. And now we're going to go back to our OPSPA director's position. And may I see just the result? Okay, thank you. So the 2 nominees moving forward to be our director positions will be Trustee Andrews and Trustee Green. Thank you, scrutineers. And staying with our nominations, now this time just for the 2 alternates to serve on the OPSPA Board of Directors. Trustees may nominate now. Trustee Green?
I'll nominate Trustee Sohi.
Okay. Trustee Balbir Sohi is nominated. You accept that nomination? Thank you. Are there any other nominations, I'm sorry? Trustee Sohi?
I nominate Kathy McDonald.
Trustee McDonald, do you accept that? Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, congratulations, Trustee Sohi and Kay McDonald as alternates for our board on UPSPA. Thank you. Okay, we're moving back to item 15 now. Are there any reports from trustee representatives on councils or associations? Trustee Green?
Mr. Chair, just one thing that I wanted to bring to the board attention. The Ontario School Board AGM will be this year not be in June, it will be in July. And it's a joint AGM with the Ontario School Board Association and the Canadian School Board Association. Therefore, at the last executive meeting, we were asked to let our board know trustees who plan to attend need to book early and to make sure that you're getting a spot. And not only getting a spot for hotel and all those things, because it's going to be a busy time in Toronto. And although we have a set price, there's going to be a cutoff time, and then the price is going to go up. So for trustees who plan to attend, please get Linda to book you soon. You will also notice the fee for the conference will be a little bit higher than usual, and that's because it's a double AGM in one, and the various different guest speakers that will be presenting. So basically, it's not you're going to go to just the Ontario School Board. You will be able to go to any one of the program that is being presented at the AGM.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item 16, are there any comments or questions from board members? I'll start with our student trustees. Trustee Chankrian? Yes. Can you move the microphone down? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair, Trustee Oris Nidanova and I have been working for the past couple of months to successfully develop and release an approved recommendation to the Peel District School Board to provide students with a fair and equitable electoral process, recommending that all PDSB secondary schools democratically elect their SAC president through a variety of methods, whether it be through speeches, videos, or another method that suits them best. We have also included resources that are available and encouraged for teachers to use as a reference for the selection process. SACs serve as essential representation for the entire student body at a secondary school, reflecting their needs and providing them with a memorable and meaningful high school experience. They ultimately provide students with leadership opportunities while encouraging students to follow their passions and develop meaningful connections within the school community. Student councils are generally the only extracurricular that directly affects the entirety of the student body, as opposed to other clubs and teams that are catered to a specific demographic of students within the school. And with that being said, it's only fitting that the student representatives are given the necessary resources to properly function as a council and fulfill their responsibilities towards the school. Our students were thoroughly involved in consultations during the development of the recommendation, followed by a high degree of positive feedback after the release. We wanted to thank Mr. Mark Harmon, our amazing Superintendent of Leadership Development and School Support Services, and Ms. Stacy Wilson from School Services for their help during this process. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Trustee Oris Nadenova.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'd just like to echo the sentiments that were made by Student Trustee Chankrian, and by also thanking the Principals Association, who were so graceful in our request for putting this recommendation forward to all of them. In addition to that, I'd also like to thank Director Joshua for coming to our school during our school's annual cancer drive, for the wonderful, graceful activity of having a pie in his face. But he raised money, and it was to help send kids with cancer to summer camp, and we really appreciate it, even though it may have not been the most pleasant 5 minutes of his life. Thank you.
Thank you. Both of your wonderful attitude of gratitude is effusive every time we meet you. Thank you. Trustee Crocker. Trustee Benjamin. Yes.
Through you, Chair, I do want to share some good news. I would like to congratulate Rick Hansen's students for the wonderful work that they did in organizing a charity drive in their school. Through different activities that they organized during that week, they raised a total of $1,319, and the students decided to contribute the whole proceeds to the Peel Learning Foundation. So I shared the school with Trustee Crocker and Trustee Lawton, and we were invited to the handing over of the check ceremony, but unfortunately, the other two trustees could not make it, and I represented them happily. The second information is regarding the spotlight on the Asian Heritage Month, which was held in the boardroom on the 8th and 9th of May. Trustees Balbir Sohi and myself were invited to host the function on each day. And both of us would like to congratulate the team that put this function together. We appreciated the wonderful performances of the McCrimmon Public School Orchestra, the lovely Bhangra and Bollywood dances performed by Chinkuzi Secondary School, Middlebury Secondary School, and Middlebury Public School and McQuail Public School. We also had a very good speaker on that day. She was a young lady, only 19 years old. Her name was Louisa Aquino, and she really resonated with the students. And I think all in all, this was a very good function, and we thank the organizers for the work that they put in. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put the money in for you.
Okay.
Because those stories are remarkable, what those students did, what the staff did. And when we talked earlier, I said, share it, share those stories, say those names, and I'll put the money in, but I won't talk for another 3 months.
Okay, I'm going to make you do it all the time.
Thank you for sharing. Trustee Kay McDonald.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo the fact that the speaker I went on the second day, and the speaker was amazing. It was unbelievable. She was only 19 years old, and she was full of such knowledge and wisdom. And she really resonated with the students, and it was just, the energy in the room was unbelievable. And her engagement with the kids, it was just awesome to see. And so I wanted to mention that. And also, I don't know if my colleagues remember, but we had a rain date for the We Rise for the secondary students for Black History Month. So the rain date, the event occurred on the 7th, I believe. And again, it was just so amazing. And our wonderful associate director, thank you for coming, and it was well appreciated. And just the, again, the energy, the learning in the room, and that's the positive. It was so amazing. I tried to go into as many workshops to see, and the feedback was really, it was well received. So again, kudos to communications, for both events, and to the teachers, the volunteers, the staff. It was truly outstanding. And, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, I don't know why. Excuse me. And the last thing I wanted to mention was, sorry, wrong date, was on the 6th of May, I had the privilege of going to the soccer center, and it was so amazing to see cricket is gaining traction in Brampton. And I believe we have the most cricket pitches in North America, I think, the most or the second most. And it's amazing to see the sports gaining traction. A lot of my schools did very well, but I have no change, so I won't list them. But it was so great to see, again, just how excited. And I remember even as a child, even though cricket traumatized me, because in Jamaica, when cricket is cricket season, that's all it is, cricket, and you can't say a word as a child. So it was quite hard for me to sit quiet and still for like 2 weeks at a time, where everybody's walking around with their little transistor radios. So it was so nice to see the field just full of all these kids playing cricket and the enthusiasm in the room. So I just wanted to share
Excellent.
that.
Thank you. Trustee Andrews? Yes.
There seems to be many 50th anniversaries coming up for a lot of our schools this year, and I had the opportunity to attend. Are you going to put my money in too? To attend Earnscliffe Senior Public School's 50th anniversary, and I actually spent 4 years there with my two daughters. But the director was there along with Superintendent Cook, and it was nice to see retired Superintendent Hazel Mason there. She dropped in, so it was nice to see her. And of course, it was a great community turnout. They had lots of activities and things. And one of the first students who started at that school in kindergarten was actually there. So it was really nice to, to have her there and hear her perspective, sort of over the 50 years, and just, the commitment to the community and how long people stay in the community because her grandchildren attend that school as well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thank you. I'd just like to let trustees know I'm out of money. So you're on your own if you're staying in a school. I do want to say that the little container left by former Chair McDougall, I didn't realize this, it's a solid sealed unit, and it's pretty full. So I wanted to hand it over to the Peel Learning Foundation, but then we'll have no sort of little safe to put it in. So if anybody has one sitting at home that we could bring it in, we'll definitely use it, but we're going to be out of one soon. Trustee Davies, and Vice Chair Lawton, Trustee DeCrube.
Thank you, Chair Cameron. I believe this is an operational issue, so this is a question to the director. As graduation season nears, and with the current political climate and budget cuts, I'm a bit concerned about the well-being of our staff and students, especially staff who are losing their positions or having to move schools. And I'm wondering if MPPs will be, which is members of provincial parliament, to be very clear, will be invited to graduations and anniversaries this year, and if the director would see this to be in the best interest of staff and students at this time. Thank you.
Director Joshua.
So through you, Chair, I'll just explain that commencements, graduations, and anniversaries are organized at a school level. So it's often the principal and a team in the school who traditionally will organize this, and the responsibility is really to them to invite individuals to come and speak and or be in attendance. So we have not controlled that to any great degree at a system level.
Okay, thank you. Trustee B. McDonald? Trustee Sohi? Yes.
Yeah, my colleague, Trustee Benjamin, talked about the celebration of Asian Heritage Month at the board. I would like to acknowledge all the staff members for organizing all the assemblies at different schools, the talent show at the different schools, and the students who are participating in different events and celebrating all the achievements and contributions made by the Asian Canadians. And throughout the history, they have done so much to make Canada culturally diverse, compassionate, and prosperous country that we know today. And I'm proud to be a Canadian, and I'm proud to be a part of the Peel District School Board, where we encourage our kids, our students, to embrace the culture. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And Trustee Green. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to just thank my colleagues for their confidence in me, and I know based on the work that Trustee Andrews and I do, the position will remain the same. So I will tell Ms. Baptiste because she's going to need to send that to OPSPR very soon. Other thing that I wanted to really echo is the We Rise conference. Director Joshua, Trustee McDonald, myself, and the many staff that put that conference on. It was 2 awesome days, and I tell you the impact that this has on our student is amazing. So it was well put together, well organized. So I congratulate each and every one for that. And as you heard again, Trustee McDonald talk about the cricket at the Sanderwood Center, that's the SEMA cricket tournament that I actually advocate to bring to Peel, because it was in Toronto for many years, but I advocate and brought that to with Mr. Vinwood Sharma to get that into Peel, and he came into Peel with that 5 years ago and started, and since then everyone know that I'm also a cricket coach myself at Central Peel Secondary School, so I can't help myself but brag that last year we are the second place winner of the senior boys cricket team, and we were proud to receive our awards this year. And at Central Peel, the banner will be flying high in the school. So Superintendent and Mr. Demir, former principal, should be proud that your students are still doing well. And just even to echo more, it's indoor cricket time right now. And today was the semifinal. And I'm not going to look down south to my colleague and friend down the bottom, but today we put a whipping on John Fraser. And we're looking forward to go on to the final on the 21st. And I'm looking, in 50 years, I've brought home with the boys a championship to Central Peel, and we're looking for a second one. So, I got my dollar to pay because I spoke about my school. Thank you very much.
2 schools, sir. 2 schools.
I got to double it? Okay, I'll double it. I'll go in my bag.
That's
and get
okay.
the other one.
You go get the money. Thank you.
All right, and then finally, I just want to say to the staff, my colleagues, my friends at this table, I want to thank you. Thank you for your support and your love that you have shown on the passing of my mom. I tell you, especially the senior admin staff, the amount of emails that I've got, the phone calls, the hugs, the kisses, the cards, it is a tough time for me. And I can say this to you and say it openly. As a minister I've done for 28 years, I've helped many families through this. Never knew that this thing would have hit me so hard because my mom was so close to me and it was sudden. So, but your words and your support has helped me to be, because even coming to meeting tonight, my wife would have said to me, "Why are you going? You need to take some time off. You need to take," I said, "I don't think my mom would want me to stop doing what I'm doing because she know that I'm doing it for the kids." So I want to thank you for all your support. If I had any doubt about how much you care about me, you have proven and you have shown me that over the last couple of days. And I thank you very much from the depths of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 17 is public question period. Are there any questions from the public? There are none. Seeing none. Item 18 is further business. Trustees have any further business to report? We'll just move on then to item 19 is the adoption of the in-committee reports. Vice Chair Lawton, will you put them on the floor? And Trustee Crocker, will you second them? Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And adjournment. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we move to adjourn, thank you to everyone here for choosing to participate in public education in Peel. We'll be back here for our next regular meeting of the board on Tuesday, May 28th. Trustee Davies, will you move to adjourn? Thank you. Will you second that, Trustee DeCrube? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Good night.